James Bond is a character who needs no introduction. For many people, including myself, there are very few characters in franchises as iconic as 007. And James Bond would surely not be as iconic without the cultural impact that the first few films in the 60s had, including today's topic, Goldfinger. Goldfinger is one of my favorite Bond films without a doubt. The third film in the franchise, it had a lot to live up to coming after Dr. No One from Russia with Love, and it blew all of that away. Sean Connery is my personal favorite Bond, and he is at his peak form here. Now, I'm not saying he was phoning it in after this, but it definitely feels like it lost some of its magic and charm after the first three. But in Goldfinger, Sean Connery's perfect. And I don't know, but for me, whenever I think of 007, I think of Connery in this film. He just gives off the aura of James Bond here. He's confident in the action, charming with the ladies, and always cracking a classic Bond joke. Doesn't hurt either that this film sees the introduction of the Aston Martin DB5, which now, of course, is as iconic as James Bond himself, but back then it was still new, and Connery is able to make that car feel like an extension of himself. An important part of any Bond film is the opening credits, and more importantly, its music. And I'll tell you, Goldfinger hits it out of the park in that department. Dr. No didn't really have a song, and From Russia with Love's song of the same name is very strong, but Goldfinger by Shirley Bassey is the first time where the song feels like it's bringing the character of James Bond to life, and it's so iconic that they even played it on Frasier. Goldfinger! And pairing this iconic song with these gorgeous visuals is the cherry on top. But what's any Bond film without a great villain? And in this film, we have Auric Goldfinger. We know a few things about him, mostly just his love of gold. So at first, when we find out about his plans at Fort Knox, we think it's going to be a simple robbery. But of course, that's too simple of a crime for a James Bond film. So we get the twist that he will actually nuke all the gold at Fort Knox to drive demand and lift the value of his gold. This brings huge stakes that James Bond must overcome. And who can forget Oddjob, Goldfinger's hat-throwing henchman who ironically might be more famous than the movie he's in. So if you're someone who's never seen a 007 film, or even if you're someone who's only seen the Daniel Craig films, I would highly recommend that you check out Goldfinger immediately. I'm sure you'll find it quite enjoyable.
Shocking.